Okay, welcome to Kojo's Math Review, and today we're going to be reviewing for the test we have this week, and we're going to be talking about exponents, absolute value, expressions, and scientific notation. Now, something else that's going to be on the test this week that I'm not going to cover is you need to look back at the last test, because I'm going to have a section on adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing integers. Just one thing, no exponents. And then we'll get into the expressions on this one, and the absolute value will have exponents. One thing I want to clarify before we get going, I want you to remind you that how to read these two different problems, these two different expressions, and it's critical that you can read them and recognize them, because that is going to be the key to your success on this test. This one, can you remember how to read it? The opposite of 7 squared. That's the opposite of 7 squared. Versus negative 7 squared. This one is the integer 7 squared, and then you take the opposite, and this is the integer negative 7 that you're squaring. Okay? So now jot down the answers to those two right now. The opposite of 7 squared becomes negative 49. And then versus negative 7 squared means negative 7 times negative 7, which is positive 49. That's the one key rule that you have to remember. The difference between these two. The opposite of 7 squared versus negative 7 squared. Okay, so let's go on. What I want you to do is I want you to pause the video, because this is going to be mostly where you're doing the problems, and then I'll give you the answer. Here are 4 problems. I want you to pause the video and do these 4 problems. When you're ready and you're done, turn the video back on and you'll check your results. Okay, welcome back. Let's see how you did. Alright, hopefully let's read this together. The opposite of 3 squared plus negative 2 squared times 4. Alright, besides the fact that you have to recognize that this is negative 2 times negative 2, which is going to give us a positive 4, and that this is the opposite of 3 squared, which is going to give us 3 squared is 9, and the opposite is negative 9. When you get here and you have negative 9 plus 4 times 4, you have to remember order of operations. We don't go negative 9 plus 4 and get negative 5 times 4. That's a no-no. We do multiplication first. So we have negative 9 plus 16, so the answer is 7. Here, the opposite of 1 squared plus negative 1 squared, we get negative 1 plus 1, which is 0. Down here, the opposite of 9 minus negative 3 squared, we cannot do a giant plus here. No, because there's a parentheses and an exponent. No giant plus here, because there's parentheses with an exponent. So we have to do the parentheses and the exponent first. Negative 3 squared is 9, and bring down the minus. Negative 9 minus 9 is negative 18. Here, this was one like I gave you on that sheet the other day that you did in class, quickly. Because there's no exponent with this 7, you can say negative 7 times negative 2 squared. You can also say the opposite 7 times negative 2 squared. It doesn't matter. But the bottom line is you get negative 28. Okay. Hope you did well. Let's see what we have next coming up. Scientific notation. Scient nota. Like that? Scient nota. Well, it's supposed to be scientific notation. I just got too tired to write the whole thing out again. So, I want you to take these 3 problems and write them in scientific notation. Remember, scientific notation is C times 10 to the n power, where C is a number between 1 and 9, and it's a single digit number. And then you can have a decimal point. So write these 3 in scientific notation. This is a number less than 1, so what kind of exponent are you going to have? That's right, negative exponent. And then, look what I said, write the standard form of the number given. Here are 2 numbers given in scientific notation. Standard form, which will be on the test, simply means write the number that this represents. Standard form is the number that scientific notation represents. So pause the video, do these 5 problems, and when you're ready, turn it back on and we'll move on. Okay, let's see how you did. For 85,000, we moved the decimal. Remember the decimals here, we moved it 1, 2, 3, 4, so we get 8.5 times to the 4th. C is a single digit number between 1 and 9, 1 through 9. 0.5, because you put the decimal right there, times 10 to the 4th. 3,200,000, we move the decimal 6 places. We start here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 3.2 times 10 to the 6th. Here we have a number less than 1, so again we go until we could get the decimal between a single digit number. So we move it to 4.6, and notice I put a negative because it's a number less than 1. So we're moving 1, 2, 3. But to go back to a number less than 1, we have to move the decimal 3 places. So it's 4.6 times 10 to the negative 3. Now these are the standard forms of the number. 4.8 times 10 to the 5th. We move the decimal 5 places because it tells us to move it. So we move it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the answer is 480,000. On this one, immediately you should know this is a number less than 1 because the exponent is a negative. So we write 3.7 and then we move the decimal 6 places. So remember the decimal was here between 3 and 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We put the decimal and we have to put a 0 in front of it. We can't do that or you'll lose a half a point because you have to have a number there. It represents a value, a place value. So hopefully you're doing really well. Alright, let's go to the next one. This last one is absolute value. The absolute value of 13 minus 26 is greater than, less than, or equal the opposite of 3 squared. Then I want you to do these 2 problems where x equals negative 3 and x equals 4. This one is the opposite of x squared plus the absolute value of x. This one is the absolute value of negative x minus 3 minus 3x squared. Pause the video, and when you're ready, come back and we'll do these problems. Alright, let's see how you did. I ran out of boards, so we're going to do this one together. This one becomes 13 minus 26 becomes negative 13. This is how you show your work. The absolute value of negative 13 is 13. And this becomes the opposite of 3 squared, which is negative 9. And 13 is greater than 9. Show that work. There's going to be a big section on this with exponents and everything. Now, when we go down here and we work this number twice, x is negative 3. So we have the opposite of negative 3 squared plus the absolute value of negative 3. Well, negative 3 squared is 9, and the opposite of 9 is negative 9, plus the absolute value of negative 3 is 3, so we get negative 6. That's for when x equals negative 3. When x equals 4, we have the opposite of 4 squared plus the absolute value of 4. Getting kind of crowded here. So we have the opposite of 4 squared, which is negative 16, plus the absolute value of 4 is 4. Negative 16 plus 4 is negative 12. So far so good. Circle your answers so I can find them on the test. On this one I'm going to go up here for when x equals negative 3. So I said the absolute value of the opposite of x. See, x is negative 3, right? So if x is negative 3, and we're going to put it in here, this says the opposite of x. So we have to have the opposite of negative 3. Minus 3 minus 3 times negative 3 squared. That's tricky. So we go in here and we say, well, the opposite. Now I can make a giant plus here because there's no exponent. So I have plus 3 minus 3. That's a 0. Okay, the absolute value of 0 is 0. Then I have minus, this is 3 times negative 3 squared. So negative 3 squared is 9. And 3 times 9 is 27, and I bring down my minus sign. So 0 minus 27, which is negative 27. Now we're going to do this one where we plug in a 4. It's a little bit easier. We get the absolute value, and this is the opposite of x. Well, if x is 4, the opposite of 4 is negative 4 minus 3, minus 3 times 4 squared. Negative 4 minus 3 is negative 7, but the absolute value of negative 7 is 7. Minus, all right, we're going to bring down, we have this 3, and we have 4 squared. 4 squared is 16. And 3, see how we brought down the minus? And 3 times 16 is 48. So we have 7 minus 48. And it's going to be negative 41. If you could work those problems, you are ready for my test. Review these: scientific notation, expressions with exponents, absolute value, scientific notation, and remember there'll be a nice big section of adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, positive and negative numbers. Good luck, and I hope you do well on the test. I'm sure you will, and I'll see you in class. Bye-bye.